Scripture portions of the day. Day 343.
Matthew 23, OANT. And when Yeshua spoke to the crowds, and with his disciples, and he said to them, the scribes and the Pharisees have sat on the throne of Moses. Everything, therefore, that they will tell you to observe, observe and do. But you should not do according to their works, for they are saying, and they are not doing. And they bind heavy burdens and place them on the shoulders of men, but they are not willing to touch them with their fingers. They do not all their works to be seen of the children of men, but they enlarge their phylacteries and they extend their blue fringes on their robes. And they love the first-class places of feasts and first-class seats in the synagogues, and the greetings in the marketplaces, and to be called rabbi by the people. But you shall not be called rabbi, for one is your rabbi, but you are all brothers. And you shall not call yourselves father in the earth, for one is your Father, who is in heaven. And you will not be called leaders, because one is your leader, the Messiah. But he who is great among you will be your servant to you. Whoever will exalt himself will be humbled. Whoever will be humbled himself will be exalted. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, impostors, who consume the houses of widows with offerings of your making for long prayers. Because of this you will receive greater judgment. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, impostors, for you shut the kingdom of heaven before the children of men, for you are not entering, and those who are entering you do not permit to enter. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, impostors, for you travel around sea and land and make one convert, and when it has happened, you have made him doubly the son of Gehenna than you are. Woe to you, blind guides, for you say, whoever swears by the temple, it is nothing, but whoever swears by the gold of the temple is liable. Fools and blind men, which is greater, gold or the temple? Which sanctifies the gold? And whoever swears by the altar is nothing, but whoever swears by the offering upon it, he is liable. Fools and blind men, which is greater, the gift of the altar that sanctifies the gift? Whoever swears therefore by the altar swears by it, and by everything that is upon it. Whoever swears by the temple swears by it, and by the one dwelling in it. Whoever swears by heaven swears by the throne of Jehovah, and by him who sits upon it. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, impostors, for you tithe mint, and dill, and cumin, and you forsake the weighty matters, things of the law, justice, mercy, and faith. It is necessary for you to do these things, and you should not forsake them. Blind guides, who strain out gnats and swallow camels. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, impostors, who wash the outside of the cup and of the dish, but within are full of plunder and evil. Blind Pharisees, wash first the inside of the cup and dish, that their outside may be clean also. Woe to you, scribes, Pharisees, impostors, who are like white tombs, which from the outside appear lovely, but from within are full of bones of dead and all corruption. So also from the outside appear the children of men as righteous, and from within are filled with evil and hypocrisy. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, impostors, who build the tombs of the prophets and adorn the tombs of the righteous. And you say, if we had been in the days of our forefathers, we would have not taken with them in the blood of the prophets. Therefore you testify against yourselves that you are the children of those who murdered the prophets. So fulfill the standard of your forefathers. Snakes, offspring of vipers, how will you escape from the judgment of Gehenna? Because of this, behold, I am sending you prophets and wise men and scribes. Some of them you will murder, and you will crucify. Some of them you will scourge in your synagogues, and you will persecute them from city to city, so that all the blood of the righteous may come upon you that has been shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel, even to the blood of Zechariah, the son of Bachariah, whom you have murdered in the midst of the temple and the altar. Amen, I say to you, all these things will come upon this generation. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you that murder the prophets and stone those who were sent to it. how many times I have desired to gather your children, as a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were not willing. Behold, the house is left to you desolate. For I say to you that you will not see me now, until you say, Blessed is he who comes in the name of Elohim.
Deuteronomy 31, Septuagint. And Moses finished speaking all these words to all the children of Israel, and said to them, I am this day 120 years old. I shall not be able to any longer come in or go out. And Elohim said to me, Thou shalt not go over this Jordan. Elohim thy Yehovah, who goes before thee, he shall destroy these nations before thee, and thou shalt inherit them. And it shall be Joshua that goes before thy face, as Elohim has spoken. And Elohim thy Yehovah shall do to them as he did to Sihon and Og and the 2 kings of the Amorites, who were beyond Jordan, and to their land, as he destroyed them. And Elohim has delivered them to you, and ye shall do to them as I charge you. Be courageous and strong, fear not, neither be cowardly, neither be afraid before them. For it is Elohim Yehovah that advances you in the midst of you. Neither will he lay any means forsake you, nor desert thee. And Moses called Joshua, and said to him before all Israel, Be courageous and strong, for thou shalt go in before this people into the land which Elohim swore to your fathers to give to them, and thou shalt give it unto them for inheritance. And Elohim that goes with thee shall not forsake thee, nor abandon thee, nor fear not, neither be afraid. And Moses wrote the words of this law in a book, and gave it to the priests, the son of Levi, who bear the ark of the covenant of Elohim, and to the elders of the sons of Israel. And Moses charged them in that day, saying, After 7 years, in the time of the year of release, in the Feast of Tabernacles, when all Israel come together to appear before Elohim Yehovah, in the place in which Jehovah shall choose, ye shall read this law before all Israel in their ears, having assembled the people, the men, and the women, and the children, and the stranger that is in your cities, that they may hear, and that they may learn to fear Jehovah your Elohim, and they shall hearken to all the words of this law. And their sons who have not known shall hear, and shall learn to fear Elohim, Jehovah thy Elohim, all the days that they live upon the land, in which they go over Jordan to inherit it. And Jehovah said to Moses, Behold, the days of death are at hand. Call Joshua, and stand ye by the doors of the tabernacle of testimony, and I will give him a charge. And Moses and Joshua went to the tabernacle of testimony, and stood by the door of tabernacle of testimony. And Jehovah descended in a cloud, and stood by the doors of the tabernacle of testimony. And the pillar of the cloud stood by the doors of the tabernacle of testimony. And Jehovah said to Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will arise, and go whoring after strange gods of the land, into which they are entering, and they will forsake me, and break my covenant which I made with thee. And I will be very angry with them in that day, and will leave them, and turn my face away from them, and they shall be devoured, and many evils and afflictions shall come upon them. And they shall say in that day, Because Jehovah my Elohim is not with me, these evils have come upon me. And I will surely turn away my face from them in that day, because of all of the evil doings in which they have done, because they turn aside after strange gods. Now write the words of this song, and teach it to the children of Israel. You shall put it in their mouth, that this song may witness for me among the children of Israel to their face. For I will bring them into the good land, which I swore to their fathers, to give to them a land flowing in milk and honey, and they shall eat and be filled, and satisfy themselves. They will turn aside after other gods, and serve them, and they will provoke me, break my covenant. And this song shall stand up to witness against them. And they shall not forget it out of their mouths, and out of their mouths of their seed, for I know their wickedness, what they are doing here in this day, before I have brought them into the good land which I swore to their fathers. And Moses wrote this song in that day, and taught it to the children of Israel. And he charged Joshua, and said, Be courageous and strong, for thou shalt bring the sons of Israel into the land, which Jehovah swore to them, and he shall be with thee. And when Moses finished writing all the words of this law in the book, even to the end, then he charged the Levites to bear the ark of the covenant of Jehovah, saying, Take the book of this law, ye shall put it inside of the ark of the covenant of Jehovah your Elohim, and it shall be there among you for a testimony. For I know your provocation, and thy stiff neck. For yet, during my life, with you, at this day, you have been provoking in your conduct towards Elohim. How shall ye also be so after my death? Gather together to me the heads of your tribes, and the elders, and your judges, and your officers, and I may speak in their ears all the words, and I call both heaven and earth to witness against them. For I know after my death you will utterly transgress, and turn aside out of the way which I have commanded you, and evil shall come upon you in the latter days, because ye will do evil before Jehovah, to provoke him to anger by the works of your hands. And Moses spoke these words of the song even to the end in the ears of the whole assembly.
Ezra 3, Septuagint. And the 7th month came, and the children of Israel were in the cities. And the people assembled as one at Jerusalem. And there stood Jesus the son of Josedek, and his brethren the priests, and Zerubbabel the son of Salathiel, and his brethren. And they built an altar to Elohim of Israel, to offer upon it burnt offerings, according to all the things that were written in the law of Moses, the man of Elo-heem. And they set up altar on its place, and there were terror upon them because of the people of the lands. And the whole burnt offerings was offered up upon it to Jehovah morning and evening. And they kept the Feast of Tabernacles according to that which is written, and offered whole burnt offerings daily in the number according to their ordinances, and the exact daily rate. After this, the perpetual burnt offerings and the offerings of the season of new moon, and all the hallowed feasts of Jehovah, and every one that offered a free will offering to Jehovah. On the first day of the 7th month they offered a whole burnt offering to Jehovah, and the foundations of the house of Jehovah were not laid. And they gave money to the stone hewers and carpenters, and meat and drink, and oil, to the Sidonians and the Tyrians, to bring cedar trees from Libanus, the sea of Joppa, according to the grant of Cyrus king of Persians to them. And in the 2nd year of their coming to the house of Elohim in Jerusalem, in the 2nd month, began Zerubbabel the son of Salathiel, and Jesus the son of Josedek, and the rest of their brethren, the priests and the Levites, all who came from the captivity of Jerusalem. And they appointed the Levites, from 20 years old and upward, over the workmen in the house of Jehovah. And Jesus and his sons and his brethren stood, Kadmiel and his sons, the sons of Judah, over all the rod of the works of the house of Elohim, the son of Enadad, and their sons, and their brethren the Levites. And they laid the foundation for building the house of Jehovah. And the priests in their robes stood with trumpets, and the Levites, sons of Asaph, with cymbals, to praise Jehovah according to the order of King David of Israel. And they answered each other with praise and thanksgiving to Jehovah, saying, For it is good, for his mercies to Israel endures forever. And all the people shouted with a loud voice to praise Jehovah at the laying of the foundations of the house of Jehovah. But many of the priests and the Levites and the early men, heads and families, who had seen the former house on its foundations, and saw this house with their eyes, wept with loud voice. But the multitude shouted with joy to raise a song. And the people did not diminish the voice of glad shout from the voice of the weeping of the people. For the people shouted with a loud voice, and the voice was heard even from far off. Ezra 4, Septuagint. And they that afflicted Judah and Benjamin heard that the children of captivity were building a house to Jehovah Elohim of Israel. And they drew near to Zerubbabel and to the heads of families, and said to them, We will build with you, for as ye do, we seek to serve Elohim, and we do sacrifice to him from the days of Esarhaddon, king of Assur, who brought us hither. Then Zerubbabel and Jesus and the rest of the heads of the family said to them, It is not for us and you to build the house to our Elohim, for we ourselves will build together to Jehovah our Elohim, as Cyrus the king of the Persians commanded us. And the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Judah, and hindered them in building, and continued hiring persons against them, plotting to frustrate their counsel, all the days of Cyrus king of Persians, unto the reign of Darius the king of the Persians. And in the reign of Artaxerxes, even into the beginning of his reign, they wrote a letter against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. And in the days of Artaxerxes, Tabeel wrote peaceably to Mithridates, to the rest of the fellow servants. Tribute gatherer wrote to Artaxerxes, king of the Persians, to write in the Syrian tongue, and the same interpreted. Rehum, the chancellor, and Sepposa, the scribe, wrote an epistle against Jerusalem to King Artaxerxes, saying, Thus judged Rehum, the chancellor, and Sampasa, the scribe, and the rest of our fellow servants, Dinaeus, and Apharathatas, son, and Tarfa'alaeanes, the Apharsaianes, and the Archaeanes, and Babylonians, and Susanacharias, and Davaeas, and the rest of the nations whom the great and noble Asar removed, and settled them in the cities of Samoron, and the rest of them beyond the river. This is the purport of the letter which they sent to him. Thy servants, the men beyond the river, to King Artaxerxes, be it known to the king that the Jews who come up from thee to us have come to Jerusalem, the rebellious and wicked city, which they are building, and its walls are set in order, and they have established the foundations of it. Now then, be it known to the king, that if the city be built up, and its walls completed, thou shalt have no tribute, neither will they pay anything, and his injures kings. It is not lawful for us to see the dishonor of the king. Therefore have we sent and made known the matter to the king, that examination may be made in thy father's books of record, and thou shalt find, and thou shalt know the city is rebellious, and does harm to the kings and countries, and there are in the midst of it very old time refuges for runaway slaves. Therefore the city has been made desolate. We therefore declare to the king, that if the city be built, and its walls be set up, thou shalt not have peace. Then the king sent to Rehum, the chancellor, and Semposa, the scribe, and the rest of their fellow servants who dwelt in Samaria, and the rest beyond the river, saying, Peace. And he says, The tribute gatherer, whom ye sent to us, has been called before me, and a decree has been made by me, and we have examined and found that city of old time exalts itself against kings, and that rebellions and desertions take place within it. And there were powerful kings in Jerusalem, and they ruled over all the country beyond the river, and abundant revenues and tributes were given them. Now therefore make a decree to stop the work of those men, and that city shall no more be built. See that you careful to the decree, not to be remiss concerning this matter, lest at any time the destruction should abound to the harm of the kings. Then the tribute gatherer of King Artaxerxes read the letter before Rehum, the chancellor, and Semposa, the scribe, and his fellow servants, and they went in haste to Jerusalem through Judea, and caused them to cease with horses and an armed force. Then ceased the work of the house of Elohim in Jerusalem. It was at a stand until the 2nd year of reign of Darius, king of the Persians.
Proverbs 25, Septuagint. And these are the miscellaneous instructions of Solomon, which the friends of Ezekias, the king of Judah, copied out. The glory of Jehovah conceals a matter, but the glory of kings honors business. Heaven is high, and earth is deep, and the king's heart is unsearchable. Beat the drossy silver, and it shall be made entirely pure. Slay the ungodly before the king, and his throne shall prosper in righteousness. Be not boastful in the presence of the king, and remain not in the place of princes. For it is better for thee if he should have said, Come up to me, than the one who should humble thee in the presence of the prince. Speak of that which thine eyes have seen. Get not suddenly into a quarrel, lest thou repeat at last. Whenever thy friend shall reproach thee, retreat backwards, despise him not. Lest thy friend continue to reproach thee, so thy quarrel and enmity shall not depart, but shall be to thee like death. Favor and friendship set a man free, which do thou keep for thyself, lest thou be made liable to reproach, but take heed for thy ways peaceably. As a golden apple in a necklace of sardius, so is it to speak to a wise word. In the ear-ring of gold and precious sardius is also set. So is a wise word to an obedient ear. As a fall of snow in the time of harvest is good against heat, so a faithful messenger refreshes those who send him, and he helps the souls of his employers. As winds and clouds and rains are most evident objects, so is he that boasts of a false gift. In long suffering is prosperity of kings, and a soft tongue breaks the bone. Having found honey, eat only that is enough, lest haply thou be filled and vomited up. Enter sparingly into the friend's house, lest he be satiated with thy company, and hate thee. As a club and a dagger, and a pointed arrow, so also is a man who bears falsely witness against him, for his friend. The way of the wicked and the foot of the transgressor shall perish in the evil day. As vinegar is bad for a sore, so trouble befalls the body, afflicts the heart. As a moth is in the garment, and the worm in wood, so the grief of man shall turn the heat. In thine enemy's hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For so doing, thou shalt heap coals of fire upon his head, and the Elohim shall reward thee with good. The north wind raises clouds, so an imprudent face provokes the tongue. It is better to dwell on a corner of a roof than with a railing woman in an open house. As cold water is agreeable to the thirsty soul, so is a good message from the land far off. As if one should stop a well and corrupt a spring of water, so it is unnecessary for a righteous man to fall before an ungodly man. It is good to eat much honey, but it is right to honor venerable sayings. As the cities whose walls are broken down, which is unfortified, so is a man who does anything without counsel.